Good evening, everyone. We are just waiting for LinkedIn to catch up, um, but kind of lost interest in waiting for it. No one is live because it's an echo, but I can't turn that off until it actually goes live. But welcome to Phoenix Within, our story where you can become the hero or the heroine by simply using your imagination to be a part of our tale. So, in the 10 chapters so far, we've been following Morgan, our protagonist, who you can create to be whoever you want Morgan to be. And if you haven't had a chance to join us so far, I tell this story in first person with minimal description so that everyone listening or reading when it comes to the blog can fill in the details and make the story more relevant for you. I did wake up this morning with a bit of a snuffly nose, so if I sound funny, I apologize. um, but I believe life should be so much more than just the usual board school, good grades, get a job, get married, family, work until you retire with some weekends and maybe 4 weeks off a year if you're lucky, retire and hopefully have enough to pay for your funeral and some nice bits for the grandkids. And this story is designed to show you an alternative way of thinking rather than constantly just doing what's always been done. So Morgan was going through a bit of a rut at the start of our story. Life just felt difficult. But then Morgan learned a few things from a webinar, some books from the library, and some seminars that they attended. Morgan got a second job and is shifting their view of their world. Life is up and down, but Morgan feels much more positive about everything. Even when they lost their job, a partner walked out and they received an eviction notice. Excuse me. And LinkedIn has completely crashed. Love it. Cool. So in chapter 10, Morgan's ex got in touch and Morgan surprised themselves by acting very differently than usual. Usually they'd give in and go back to them, but this time they said their piece and left it at that. So the life that Morgan is carving out for themselves is much more appealing than sinking back to old families. So they made a split second decision and they stuck. But will Morgan's mind and subconscious programming agree? Let's find out if there is any fallout from the decisions Morgan has made recently. So, chapter 11, I have called An Impression of Increase. And it goes like this. It has been a couple of weeks since that meeting with my ex and the franchise offer from the coffee shop owner. And my, has it been an emotional roller coaster? Everything I've learned recently is telling me that this is perfectly normal and is caused by my internal programming fighting back against the changes I'm making. But it has felt really awful and tiring at times. One minute I'm full of energy, raring to go, speaking to people about funding opportunities, life feeling really awesome. The next I'm physically and mentally exhausted, feeling useless and just wanting to sleep. I have received a lot of no's to funding requests I've made on my quest to build enough to buy into the coffee shop franchise. A couple of yeses, but only for small amounts, and only if I manage to make the full amount up with other sources. Granted, those two amounts don't need to be paid back. So that's a start. I just need to find the other 70% of the funding from other sources. These numbers have really taken a toll on me, though. My mind is berating me with all sorts of worries, doubts, and thoughts about how this is all too hard and I should just give up and keep looking for a normal job, just like everyone else. Then I fight back against myself with the fact that that option will be just as hard and probably more stressful in the long run. And then I just go round and round and round in circles between thoughts of what I want and thoughts of being realistic. Realistic is annoying. I'm using my imagination as often as possible to live in the world I want to build for myself. And living there in my mind fills me with calm, pride, and simple bliss. It feels so nice falling asleep in my bed while thinking that I'm in my new place, the apartment above the coffee shop. I've been sneaking up there to look around and familiarize myself with it as often as I can, and I've been doing as many extra shifts in the shop as possible. My bank account is growing, and I've explained my job situation to my current landlord and agreed for them to keep my deposit instead of me paying any rent until my eviction notice runs out in 3 weeks' time. This is in part due to the extra coffee shop shifts, but also due to some extra weekend and evening work at the university for their events. These events have all been really interesting, not all about mindset or productivity topics. One was about someone's theory on what killed the dinosaurs, which was quite controversial, but still very interesting. My little side hustle is also plodding along nicely. I've had a good few appointments, and my mentor is now happy for me to go it alone, so I'm not so tied with when and where I can book appointments in. A couple of these appointments have converted into signups, so at the end of next month, I'll be currently bringing in an extra £750. Every little helps. I've also been attending some group meetings with my friend about their upcoming seminar. My technology passed their requirements, and it's been really interesting to see the behind the scenes work that goes into the webinars they do. The actual event is tomorrow evening online, and I have my backdrop all set up and my lines almost fully learnt by heart, so it sounds natural. All these things are going in the right direction, all heading towards the life I want to be living. So why does it still feel so bad? I keep getting the thoughts that I will fail and I'll end up on the street, homeless and jobless, that my newfound friends will all discard me or to get in touch as I won't be able to pay my phone bill. I respond to each with the opposite, like the books and seminars have taught me to do. I will succeed. Move into the apartment above the coffee shop and boost my wages. I will keep being invited to help with their webinars and meet up in a social sense. But then the thoughts come back again. What if I fail? Jobless and homeless. And they just keep coming. No matter how many times I respond, it just continues. I think it's these thoughts that are causing the emotional roller coaster. It's almost like my inner mind wants me to just stay where I am, where things are known and feel safe. I know where I stand and I know what to expect. But things aren't known or safe. I have no idea where I stand or what to expect. So why does part of me want to stay right here? I asked my friend this when I met them for a drink yesterday afternoon. They reassured me that it's perfectly normal and referred back to what was said at the seminar. We all have inner programming, installed before we were even born, they said, and sometimes even before our parents were born. It runs down through families and is then reinforced when we are little children. For the most of us, it's the programming that the only security we have to earn our money to pay our bills is through working for someone else. It's also what is taught in schools, to study hard, get good grades, and then get a good job. But that's not the best way to live at all. That's the way the masses are told because it keeps everyone in the same little box. We need people to show others that they can choose what they want to do in life, and no one else should get a say in what they want to do with their life. When they hear it from me in my seminars or workshops, they say, it is usually the first time they've been told that. To that point, they've been told what they should do, how they should act and speak. I was really inspired by our conversation, and it helped me to make sense of why it felt so bad inside to go in a different direction to that I'd always been told to go. The example that cemented it, though, was this. My friend said, think of it this way. You are the only person that lives with you 24/7. So therefore, what anybody else isn't relevant. If you aren't happy doing what you're doing or feel that you're not being true to who you think you are, then the only person that can do anything about it is you. You can choose to go down a different path. Like C.S. Lewis said, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can change the end by changing what you're doing right now. That was the same quote in the bookstore window that had such a profound impact on me a few months ago. The same quote that is still having the same effect on me now. Things need to change. I can't go back to where I was, and I can't stay where I am now, even if I wanted to. Yes, a lot of the reasons have been out of my control, losing my job, the eviction notice, but I could choose how I responded at those points. And if given the same choice again, I think I'd choose exactly the same way as I responded this time. Life now is interesting. It's up and down, 1 minute really hard, but the next filled with hope and new opportunities. And I wouldn't change that for the world. I get to choose what happens next. Whether I keep pushing down this road, I am walking towards the franchise, webinar hosting, the evening work at the university, or give up and look for more traditional options that everyone else would approve of. I am definitely not ready to give up yet. A ping from my phone snapped me out of my Saturday morning daydreaming. Unknown number, but the message is intriguing. It's asking for volunteers for a startup launch at my old company. There's a web link to more information, so I take a look. It looks like they're raising money and awareness for new business ventures in our area, including their own, to help people start their own businesses, and also for other businesses to support them as well. They need volunteers with waiting or hosting experience. The name at the bottom of the message intrigues me further. It's the minimum effort person from the old job. Well, at least they got accepted to retake their job, although it was probably for a pay cut like all the other roles. I take a breath to clear my mind from going down that train of thought and reply asking for the details. While waiting for a response, I get up and start sorting my breakfast. I've already decided on a lazy day today, doing some reading in preparation for tomorrow's webinar, following up on a few more funding ideas, and taking a walk this afternoon when the rain stops for my weekly food shop. The response comes quite quickly, actually, and the event is happening next Wednesday afternoon. I reply and say I'd be happy to help. I'm not sure where they got my number from, but that's not really relevant, is it? I push that thought from my mind and jot the details down in my diary before getting on with my day. It is a good day today. Got lots done, lots of research, a few more funding applications written, while sitting in the apartment above the coffee shop. The owner was more than happy to grant my rather strange sounding request. I also took some photos and a video while there, had a couple of presentations for my side hustle, and video called my friend to show them the space. I suggested to them that we could hold some in person speaking events here after I move in, and they agreed that that was an amazing idea. The thoughts are all aligning in my head and making me feel utterly at home in this space. I just wish my inner voice would back off and stop providing me with the doubts and worries that it won't happen. The more I visualize myself in this new space as franchise owner shop and host speaking events here, the bigger feelings when I relax too much, bombarded with all the emotion of failure. I guess the bigger I build the feelings of success, the bigger the feelings of failure will be as well, because I want this so much, and it will really hurt to not get it. I continue overriding these thoughts of failure as often as they come up. I've decided that this is what I want, and I will not let them destroy my vision. My phone pings, an email notification. So I go back to my laptop to read it. It's an appointment to attend a meeting with a potential funding source, and it's this afternoon if I can make it. I check the location and the time, reply with yes, and then pack up my stuff to quickly pop home and change. Within an hour, I'm sitting in a rather posh waiting room, not far from home, my laptop and notepad in my bag with all of the details on that other people have asked for. I messed up quite a lot of the early appointments I had by not knowing the details that they wanted to know. Following those, I went back to the coffee shop owner to ask for all the details about turnover, profits, bills, etc., that I would never have thought of, and now have everything neatly laid out and very professionally looking as well. I do say so myself. I also took You Were Born Rich with me, as I didn't know how long I'd need to wait for. And the section I'm reading is talking about not worrying about the money, to only focus on the service I am giving and can give to others. The money will come my way based on the level of service I give to others, and that fact is based on a natural law of the universe, the law of cause and effect. What we give out must always come back to us in one form or another, and not always from the same source as that which we gave to in the first place. Another interesting concept. And my mind jumps straight to the Wednesday night event where I'm helping with the hosting of the meeting at my old company. That is purely as a volunteer. I'm not expecting to get paid. And the only reason I'm going is to help them and also mingle with other business owners to see what can rub off on me. My thoughts are interrupted as my name is said, and a well dressed person approaches me with their hand outstretched. I recognize them, but can't pin from where at the moment. Standing, I take their hand, and shake it confidently. They motion for me to follow them to a nearby meeting room, offer me a drink from the machine in the corner of the room, and we chat while the machine does its thing. We actually met at the seminar a few weeks ago. I knew I recognized them and tell them so. They say that they did some further research on me when they received my application for funding because they were impressed by the way I wrote my covering letter and how to the point I was for what I wanted. This is how they found out that we had met at the seminar. When the drinks are ready, we sit down and they ask me to go through all the details of why I want the funding. They want to hear it from me, not just what I put on the paper, and what my future plans for the coffee shop are. I decide to go all out and simply share the vision I have been building in my mind, having a whole day dedicated to drink experimentation for customers to also come up with their own concoctions, using the apartment space to host meetings, seminars, private events, and cookery demonstrations, to extend the hours and hire more staff down the road. They sit and smile as I elaborate in as much detail as I can the vision in my mind. And once done, they nod and agree that it is a big vision. Then the subject of cost comes up. So I pull out my notepad and go through all the numbers the coffee shop owner shared with me. They've been in business for a good few years now, so there's a lot of evidence numbers rather than guesses. And I have also added potential costings for the events I want to run and the extra stock for the tasting and experimenting days. A few minutes of silence go by while they look through the numbers. I sip my drink, remind myself to breathe. I've done everything I can. This is now in their hands. A few questions here and there, which I feel I answer confidently, including about other potential funding sources, and I mention the two small grants. Then the last thing they ask is whether I have run these ideas past the owner. I have, so I say yes, and that they are on board with all of my ideas. They nod, ask to take copies of all the documents I've brought in, and if I have any photographs. I say yes, and they call for their assistant to do the photocopying before looking through the photos and asking me to email them to them. The assistant returns, we stand, shake hands again, and they say they will discuss my proposal with their team and get back to me by the end of the week. As I walk home, I feel like jumping for joy. No, I haven't got a definite yes, but it wasn't a no, and it felt a lot more positive this time. Sunday, I spent at the coffee shop and shared my meeting with the owner when they came in during the afternoon. They agree it definitely sounded promising. And in the evening, it is time to be the host of my friend's webinar. I made sure everything is set up in advance, that I looked my best, and had also spent a lot of the day reading my notes over and over. It was quite nerve-wracking at first, but a few deep breaths and I was soon into the flow of it, handling questions in the chat, introducing each of the speakers, thanking people for attending and encouraging them to use the chat to engage with the session. It went really well. And once we were finished, the team jumped on another call to debrief, and I received nothing but praise. My friend also said that they'd be giving me 10% of the profits made, which I wasn't expecting. I was happy just to be there, helping out my new friends. So to receive some money for it as well in a couple of weeks' time, it's just the icing on the cake. I ask if there is anything else I can do to help, and I'm given the login details for the group email address to help with answering queries and helping potential customers get the answers they need. There is a document with a lot of the frequently asked questions on, which I can use to copy and paste answers from. And if there are some questions I can't answer, then I can simply acknowledge the sender and pass their questions to one of the team to look at. I feel really privileged to be a part of this group, and a thought popped into my head. You receive based on what you give. I have no idea how much money is coming my way in a couple of weeks. Depends on the sales of the program we were selling, but it does prove that you receive based on the service you give. Monday through Wednesday are my usual cleaning and coffee shop routines, checking my emails regularly to see if I have a response from the meeting I had on Saturday, and also responding to questions in my friend's email box when I get a chance to. Wednesday after my cleaning shift, I head over to my old company building. It feels strange going back there, but equally it feels quite empowering. I press the buzzer to be let in and head over to the main area where a few others are gathered. I recognize a few and say hello, asking how they've been and what they're up to now. I applied for and got news with this new company, Bob being one of them, and a couple had moved on to do other things like I had. I keep my information short and sweet, working a couple of jobs and really loving life. Minimum effort person approaches me, welcomes me, and thanks me for my help, and then shows us what we are needed for and the layout of the event. They're expecting between 50 and 70 people from a variety of backgrounds. Some entrepreneurs looking for funding, some CEOs looking at sponsoring or buying into businesses, and some just coming to network and say congratulations on the new business. The main focus, though, is to celebrate the new business, the one that bought and closed the one I work for, and to share its vision for the future. Our role as helpers is to mingle with the guests, carrying trays of drinks and snacks to ensure that everyone has a good time and does not need to look for food or a drink at any time. Sounds easy enough? Be welcoming, smile, mingle, and ensure that drinks and food are flowing. I can do that. We help get a few more things set up ready for people to start arriving, and I get familiar with the layout of where to pick up the food and drink from. People start arriving about an hour later, and the event starts filling up quite quickly. There's a nice atmosphere, lots of laughter stations going on in the room. I mingle as I was told to, offering drinks 1 minute and switching to a tray of food the next. Just finger food, really, small nibbles that all look amazing. Once people are in and settled, the new owner calls for everyone's attention and thanks them for being there. They give their speech about their vision for the company to massive rounds of applause, and then encourage everyone to fill in their details on the forms around the room and to mingle with the other guests. The whole event is a huge success, and shortly after the speeches, I get a tap on the shoulder and turn around to see the person from the funding meeting on Saturday. They say it's nice to see me here and ask what I'm doing. I tell the truth, simply helping out some old work colleagues, and they smile and simply say that I should have it in writing tomorrow, but they wanted to tell me first. My funding application has been approved. They are willing to give me the full amount, the 70% that I needed, and all they want in return is to be able to use the apartment space for various meetings and get-togethers when it is available. They will pay for food and drinks at their events, but not the room hire. Of course, that is absolutely fine with me. I shake their hand and we go our separate ways so they can mingle and I can refill the tray. I am literally ready to burst with excitement. I find minimum effort person and ask for a quick 10-minute break and then head to the bathrooms to get my excitement out so I can stop shaking. Shaking hands while carrying drinks isn't going to go well. I stop myself messaging the coffee shop owner. I want to see the details in writing first, and I'm seeing them tomorrow for the evening shift so I can show them in person. This is unbelievable. I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror and smile. My face is hardly recognizable to the last time I looked in that mirror. That day when I was drying my socks under the hand dryer, looking like a drowned rat with no hope for the future. Now I can see excitement, almost a whole new person looking back at me, with so many opportunities that I have created and attracted to me simply by shifting my thinking and just going for it. I take some deep breaths to help calm myself down, and then head back out to the room to continue doing what I volunteered to do. Help this company leave their guests with an impression of increase. And that's chapter 11. So thank you for joining me. I will get this recording out to my LinkedIn peoples because it's still spinning and try another way of streaming again on Thursday. I thought I'd cracked it this evening, but it had other ideas. But yeah, thank you for joining me. There are 2 chapters left now. Not quite sure what's going to happen yet. I'm sure there'll be a curveball somewhere. There has to be. It's life. It's just what happens. It doesn't go great all the time, but it's how we deal with it that makes the difference. So if you do have any ideas or anywhere that you want to see the story go next to the end, then please feel free to get in touch. And I hope you enjoyed it. Have a lovely rest of your evening, and I'll see you same place, same time on Thursday. 2 chances left to actually get it to stream properly. Yay! Have a good evening all.